I welcome you today to one of Crew Tampa Bay's signature events, the 6th Annual Economic Summit. In addition to our featured mayors, which I will introduce shortly, we have some special guests in attendance today that we'd like to recognize. Mayor Dave Cull from Dunedin. Eggers, I'm sorry. Mayor Dave Eggers, thank you. Mayor Doug Beavis from Oldsmar. Mayor Frank Chalura from Temple Terrace. Jerry Lopez with the City of Clearwater. Mike Dove with the City of St. Petersburg. And Carl Nurse, City Councilman, St. Petersburg. We'd also like to thank our sponsors for today's Economic Summit. Gold sponsors, if we could hold our clap for the end of each category, that'd be great. Mosaic Development, ABI Companies, Feldman Equities, and Squire Sanders. Silver sponsors, Core Construction, Gensler, Old Republic National Title, Incor Residential, BB&T Bank, Fletcher & Fisher, Tampa Housing Authority, Pilot Bank, Cardinal TBO, Parkway Properties, Hill Ward Henderson, Cardinal Point, and Impact Graphics. And our bronze sponsors, Baker Barrios, Florida Gulf Coast Appraisers Chapter, and Tico Peoples Gas. As I mentioned earlier, this is our 6th annual summit, Economic Summit, and it is the largest by far. We have 450 people in attendance, and from where I'm standing, every seat is taken. So we want to give a big thank you to our fabulous Economic Summit Committee. Co-chairs Roxanne Amoroso, Senior Vice President with Incor Residential, and Sharon Washburn, Vice President with ABI, and the entire committee. If you could please stand. Wonderful. And now I would like everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. The flag is to my left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is Pastor Ken Witten here? Wonderful. We're going to have an opening invocation.
Would you join me in bowing your heads, please? Lord, how grateful we are today to attend this Economic Summit luncheon as we have these past 6 years. We thank you for the wonderful organization called Crew. And we thank you for the mayors that have taken time out of their busy schedule to be here today. And we pray especially for Tampa's Mayor Bob Buckhorn, and Clearwater's Mayor George Kretikos, and St. Petersburg Mayor Rick Kreisman. And Father, even when we've had bad economical times, we recognize that your hand and your blessing has been on our nation and even our cities and our towns and our counties. We have food in our refrigerators and clothes on our back and a roof overhead and a place to sleep, and that makes us richer than 75% of the world. And because we're free to attend a church or a synagogue and meet without fear of harassment, torture, or death, that makes us more blessed than 3 billion people in the world. And because we have money in the bank and in our wallet or spare change in our dish, we recognize today we're in the top 8% of the world's wealth. And because we woke up this morning with more health than illness, we're more blessed than the million of people who will not survive this week. So Lord, our hearts go out today to those in danger of battle, to the loneliness of imprisonment, the agony of abuse, and the pain of starvation. And because that doesn't represent very many of us in this room, we recognize today that we're grateful. And we are more blessed than 500 million people in the world. And I guess what We want to say today, Father, is this: we are blessed. And in case we haven't said it, or in case we haven't said it enough, hear us today say, Lord, thank you. Thank you for our meal. Thank you for this Economic Summit luncheon, all the business owners and workers. Thank you for this great organization of commercial real estate, this crew, and the women that are represented in this room, what they mean to us, what they mean to our nation and this city. And Lord, thank you. That's what we'd like to say today. And we'd ask you to bless this meal as we pray and we say thank you. And I personally say thank you in the most wonderful, exalted name that I know, our Savior, the Lord, Jesus Christ. In his name, amen and amen.
All right. Lunch will be served while we have an exciting, frank living room kind of conversation with the mayors of Tampa, St. Pete, and Clearwater. And as they all told me, they don't need name tags, but I'm going to introduce them anyway and take you through. To my immediate left, I have Mayor Kreisman with the City of St. Petersburg, our newest mayor and first-time attendee to the Economic Summit. Mayor Kreisman was was put into office January 14, and then we have Mayor Kretikos, Mayor Buckhorn. Excuse me here. And obviously Mayor Bob has been here for 4 years, almost 3 years going on 4. And has done, he believes in Tampa's strengths and diversity and focusing on building an environment that will move Tampa to the next level and create a strong economic climate. And he's done a great job so far. And then Mayor Kretikos from Clearwater is a Pinellas County native. Grew up in Tarpon Springs, graduated from Tarpon Springs High School, and attended Davidson College. So, with that in mind, we have about 7 or 8 questions that we want to ask the mayors and open this up so they can have a nice conversation. And I'll open this up to all of the mayors. Whoever wants to answer first can. Mayors, as Crew Tampa Bay, we are interested in hearing your thoughts about the changes that are occurring in 2014 and 2015 in the commercial real estate arena in your respective cities. Can you please tell us what you see evolving in development trends and how they most benefit your constituents?
Well, I guess as the senior mayor, I'll go ahead and go first. And before I start, what I want people to leave here with and what I want people to understand as we go through this discussion is up here on stage you have 3 individuals that have had personal friendships for close to 25 years. So we are not strangers to each other. We have been friends for a long time, long before each of us became the mayor. We will be friends after that. All of us are absolutely committed to making sure that those bridges are not barriers, that they are conduits to cooperation, that the days of us fighting about Pinellas and Hillsborough, Tampa, St. Pete, Democrat, Republican, rural versus urban are over, done. Not happening anymore, because I think each of us know that we're stronger together. So I think for all of us, and I hope for all of you, this is a recognition that this is a different time in Tampa Bay's history, and that this is a time when we put aside all those silly differences and focus on what is good for all of us, what unites us, not what divides us. And I will tell you unequivocally, we are competing with regions all over the globe, and if we don't function as one, if we don't compete as one, if we don't grow as one, as if we don't celebrate as one, then we are not going to succeed. And so, Mercedes, I think the opportunities for the real estate industry in this community are unprecedented. I think there is a buzz about the Tampa Bay area that hasn't existed in decades. I think there's an excitement that is palpable, that's tangible about this community. I think there is a realization that our best days are yet ahead of us, and that if we set our mind to doing something, there is nothing that can get in our way as long as we remain united, as long as we not get reduced to the partisan bickering and the parochial bickering and the myopic view of things. There are unparalleled opportunities for the Tampa Bay area. Each of our communities has amazing success stories to tell, emerging out of the wreckage of the recession of the last 7 years. Certainly in my city, I think there has never been a brighter time for Tampa. I think the opportunities in Tampa are unlike any time we've ever seen before. And I think if we do this right, we can truly be that city in America that everyone talks about. And the same is true for each of my partners on either side of me. So from my perspective as the mayor of Tampa, it's going to be a good ride. And I can't wait to see what comes out of this over the next decade.
I woke up this morning wondering where was I going to sit, because last year I was in the middle, if you will remember. We had Mayor Buckhorn, a vibrant Tampa, and the Bucks. We had Mayor Foster, a growing downtown in St. Petersburg.
You're good, man.
Come on. And the Rays. And then there was this confusion of where the Rays might end up. And I was in the middle saying, well, what we'll do is just rename Tampa Bay Clearwater Bay. Everybody will be happy. And so what do y'all do? You put me on the far right this year. And I'm on the far right because I'm the Republican in the room, and we have 2 Democrats now.
You can't help that.
No, I can't help it. But what has happened in that year? Tampa has Bollywood. St. Petersburg has been named one of the best towns in the United States. Clearwater has been named the best beach and the best place to watch a sunset. And we still have our sugar sands. And when I was walking the beach this morning, I didn't have any Rays or Bucks. I had little oyster catcher chicks. And I'm saying that a lot of people come to the Tampa Bay area to enjoy what we've got in Clearwater. And while our commercial growth may not be the same and the opportunities may not be the same, as Mayor Buckhorn said, unless we work together, we will not succeed. And whether we're talking about commercial and attracting businesses, whether we're talking about technology. We had a technology summit in downtown Clearwater with some of our businesses that are really small companies, 8, 10 people. And they came up with the idea that instead of calling us the Silicon Valley, we had to call ourselves the Silicon Beach. So Clearwater is here. We're excited to be able to work with our colleagues and each one of you to benefit the entire area. First off,
There we go. Good afternoon. Nice to be able to join you this year. I'm glad to be here with my friends. And I know this is my first year here because my city sent someone from my council and my administration to make sure that I don't step in it, apparently, today. But I am pleased to be sitting up here with these 2 mayors, both of whom, as Mayor Buckhorn said, we're all longtime friends. But I think the 3 of us really get it. And we get the fact that working together regionally, we have the opportunity to take this region to where it's never been before, well beyond the bounds that are established in our state, but to compete on a nationwide and international basis in ways that we haven't been able to do so previously. And the beauty of each of our communities is while they're different, there are things that make us similar and that in areas in which we are looking at expanding and that we can tell a regional story, a story that hasn't been able to be told before. So to me, that's really exciting. It's one of the reasons I wanted to run for this seat, is knowing what the possibilities are and what the future potentially holds for our region and for my city individually, and knowing that the quality of life that our 3 communities are able to provide is so attractive and gives us such a leg up on so many other places around the country to attract business to and to bring business here because nowadays people want to live, work, and play in the same area. And to be able to do it in a region that has so much to offer I think it's exciting. As my colleagues have said, this is really an exciting time, and it's a time that gives us tremendous opportunities. And personally, I'm glad to be in a room with so many people who can make some of the things that we'd like to see happen, and that are equally motivated because you all recognize the opportunities, and I think that's why this is the biggest it's ever been. I think everyone in this room recognizes the opportunities that exist right now in this region. And if that doesn't fire you up, nothing will. So it's good to be here with you all today.
Thank you for the segue, Mayor Kreisman. We're talking about development trends. Let's talk about downtown and the downtown corridors. What do you see as the significant challenges in development downtown, the obstacles? How are you looking to overcome them, specifically relative to transportation and services?
First of all, I think in all three of our cases, there is a overarching strategy as to why we are focused on our downtowns. And it's part of a much larger mosaic. But if you think about our ability to compete for intellectual capital, our ability to compete for those best and brightest young people, those new millennials, that either are our kids, that for 10 years have been fleeing the state of Florida for places like Austin, Texas, and Raleigh, Durham, and San Diego, and Nashville, and not coming back. Or whether it's to attract the best and the brightest talent from all over the world to come and be a part of this experiment that we call Tampa Bay. In order to do that, you've got to have a downtown that's thriving, a downtown that's open 18 hours a day, a downtown where folks can live in an urban environment, because I'm telling you, they don't want to live in the burbs, in a city that's diverse, where we celebrate everyone's value and we don't demonize people based on race or creed or color or ethnicity or the God you worship or who you love, where you can walk to restaurants and bars, where certainly in Tampa's case, where you can celebrate the waterfront. So there has been an overarching theme throughout everything that we have done, and I have seen what they have done as well, is to create a downtown urban environment that's hip, that's cool, that's diverse, that's a welcoming place. And so for us, that's critical. And I think you've seen that dynamic change, certainly in the city of Tampa. And in terms of the residential development, some of the hurdles that we need to overcome are a lack of transit. And I'm here to tell you, as mayor of the city of Tampa, everyone in this room needs to help these two guys pass green light Pinellas. We have got to do that. So if you're a corporation, write a check. If you want to volunteer, go volunteer, because what happens in Pinellas in that referendum will largely affect what will happen to Hillsborough in 2016. We have got to have mobility options. Transit has got to be a part of the equation. It's not the entire equation, but eventually we need to connect downtown St. Petersburg to the beaches at Clearwater, to Tampa International Airport, and to downtown Tampa. We have got to have it. We are far less competitive if we don't have it, and I need the business community to step up and help these guys win, because when you help them win, you're going to help us win in 2016. Other challenges, parking. Parking is a big deal in downtown, any downtown. The lack of parking is a big deal in downtown Tampa. But what I think you're seeing now is because the young people want to live downtown, because the companies recognize that and they want to be in the urban environment where they are able to make better hiring decisions because the young folks want to be there, that the demand for downtown, both residential and on the commercial side, is skyrocketing. Just here in the city of Tampa, we've got 5 new residential towers that will be coming out of the ground in the next 12 to 18 months. That will drive retail. That will drive commercial. That will drive transportation. That will drive amenities. And the same is true in every one of their cities. So it's a good time to be in downtown. It's a good time to be in the real estate business in downtown. So keep bringing us deals, would you?
I want to echo a lot of what Mayor Buckhorn just said, because we're experiencing the same growth in downtown St. Pete, but the same challenges. Parking it continues to be an issue, and it's one of those things where you want to see the growth, but if you're not making the long-term plan for it, then you kill it. And I don't think, looking back at the history of St. Pete, we haven't done as good a job as we can, but we're going to do it better. And it's one of the commitments that I have to my community, is to make sure that we're not just bringing the growth, but we're planning for the growth for the long term. So we've got to address parking. We've got a lot of residential that is popping up in downtown. But the biggest challenge, I think, aside from transportation, and transportation is critical, is putting the parcels together for that commercial development, for the businesses that want to locate in the downtown core, because Mayor Buckhorn is absolutely right. This generation today wants to be able to walk to work. They want to live in close proximity to where they're working. And that's why rail or mass transit's important and public transportation, but it's also why it's important for us to be able to find those parcels of property, put them together, and be able to bring the commercial into the same areas that we're bringing the residential right now. And I think in some ways that's the greatest challenge that I've got is being such a built-out downtown area, finding the property on which to put the commercial that wants to come to downtown. But we're going to continue to work on it, and it's an exciting time. But the other thing that you're starting to see in St. Pete is it isn't just in the heart of the downtown core, but we're starting to see the spread down Central Avenue and into South St. Pete. And quite frankly, I think the greatest opportunity that we have in St. Pete right now is on the 34th Street corridor in the Skyway Marina District. And if you haven't taken a look at it, come visit, because I'd love to show it to you. There's huge opportunity there.
Our downtown in Clearwater is a little different than Tampa or St. Petersburg's, even Dunedin and Osmar and Temple Terrace. But we've got some opportunities. We're looking forward to a new project that is going to bring people living to downtown, because unless we have people living in downtown, as the mayors have already indicated, people just don't come to downtown Clearwater. We have the Capitol Theater that has done great things with Ruth Eckerd Hall in bringing people down, but after they come downtown, they leave. So the private investor keeps looking at the city to make a further investment in the community. And at some point, we're trying to tell them that the private sector needs to step up to follow the lead of the city in terms of the Capitol Theater, this Prospect Lake project that we have going, the Marine Aquarium that we're hopeful will get done. And then on the subject of transportation, and we're probably jumping ahead a little bit, but that's okay. It is important for us to pass Green Light Pinellas. Having said that, I will also tell you, I don't really like having an 8 cent on our sales tax when everybody else is going to have 7. But if we don't do it now, 20 years from now, you're going to have 3 different mayors up here saying we need to do something to connect our areas together. And so for that reason alone, there is no excuse for any of us not to be supporting Green Light Pinellas. And then we'll worry about, the 8 cent later on.
Excellent points. We all compete. This Tampa Bay area region competes with a lot of other markets, Charlotte, Austin, Atlanta, for jobs. Can you tell us what you're doing to separate the Tampa Bay area from these other markets so that we can successfully win these jobs?
You guys want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. I think there's been a kind of a shift in the way economic development has historically been done. Every community is able to put together tax incentives that they offer. I don't think, we're not breaking any ground there. Historically, what's happened is you go out, you recruit a company, you bring it back, you give them tax incentives, and then 5 years, 7 years down the road, some other cities doing the same thing. So I think the shift is that we're all working at, and we still do that, but we're working at growing our businesses in our communities, at incubating them, at working to help startups get going. I know I've got one of my favorites that's in this room today from St. Pete with LumaStream. It's businesses like that start in your community, that grow, their roots are based in your community, and as they continue to grow, they stay in your community because this is where they're based, this is where their roots are. And you keep them there by providing the quality of life that we've been talking about. You know, whether it's through making sure that you've got good schools for their kids to go through and for them to hire employees who are educated from. It's safe neighborhoods, and we spend a great deal of time in St. Petersburg now focused on our neighborhoods and bringing our neighborhoods back up to where they need to be so everyone can not only have a good quality neighborhood but affordable housing. It's public safety. It is parks and recreation, and it's providing arts and culture. And we're proud in St. Pete to have been recognized for the quality of life that we provide by being one of those cities, one of the top 50 cities in the country, or in the world, I should say, to visit. That's how you bring businesses here. That's how you get them to stay, by providing that. And again, going back to transportation and infrastructure, that's an important piece of that quality of life. Because if it's not easy to get to work, if you're dealing with gridlock trying to get to work, I think, you know, you mentioned Atlanta. That's going to be one of their downfalls. That's why we're going to be able to steal businesses and get them to relocate, whether it's to Clearwater or Tampa, St. Pete. Because if you've ever had to drive in Atlanta, it isn't fun. You don't have that in our communities. So I think we've got a lot of opportunities in the new world that we live in for economic development that make us stand out above some of these other communities.
Because we're built out in Pinellas, it's a little bit more difficult, and especially in Clearwater, for us to offer a lot of space for companies to come in. But like the other two communities, we use a tax incentive program to help businesses come in, and we're pleased that General Electric is going to be moving one of its facilities from up north to Clearwater and to use that program. I don't mind being called Tampa's Beach. You know, because Tampa doesn't have a beach. You know, I don't mind people.
We've got Beer Can Beach.
St. Pete doesn't have a beach either. They have another city called St. Pete Beach, you know.
Not yet, at least.
But the idea is that by working together and selling each other, we benefit the entire area. Reference was made to my having gone to school at Davidson. When I was at Davidson, it was 25 miles outside of Charlotte, yet it was still in the same county. If you were to go up there now, you wouldn't know where Davidson began and Cornelius ended, because they're right on top of each other, and obviously the whole Mecklenburg County area is one. We're one. We just sometimes don't realize it.
Mercedes, you talked about competition. I can tell you who I'm not competing with.
That's good.
These two guys. I'm not even competing with Miami. I'm not competing with Orlando. As a region, we're competing with some of the emerging technology centers largely in the southeast United States. Those cities that have been stealing our kids for a generation now. That's who we're competing with. And so when you focus on our strengths as a region, and you look at the potential here in the I-4 corridor, I mean, within 20 years, this is going to be a megalopolis that will stretch from Orlando to Tampa. This is the place where we elect presidents. This is a place where we elect governors.
We didn't let him slip that just Tampa, you know. We threw in Pinellas County there.
But this is a place that if you look at the regional assets, and if we focus on our strengths, whether it's the defense contracting industry out of MacDill Air Force Base, do you know that there are 2,400 defense contractors in the Tampa Bay area? Many of them populating Pinellas County and Clearwater area, who are here largely because of Special Operations Command and Central Command and the tens of millions of dollars that spin out of MacDill Air Force Base to create high-tech jobs. You think about a major research university. You know, at one time, 60% of the gross domestic product in Silicon Valley was directly tied to Stanford University. That intellectual capital, that research that was taking place at Stanford was being spun off into the private sector to create jobs and companies and opportunities. We have the same capacity at the University of South Florida. Over $400 million in research flows through USF, whether it's USF St. Pete or USF main campus. Taking that research and getting it out of the Petri dish and into the marketplace will create real value-added jobs that will allow us to compete with anybody. Financial services. We have a huge footprint from virtually every financial service institution, every major New York bank located right here in the Tampa Bay area, doing not just call center work, but doing really highly skilled work that requires the types of degrees coming out of USF. So when we go compete, we put our best foot forward. We compete based on our strengths, not on our weaknesses. And we have carved out a niche in this country for what we do and what we do best, and we have been successful, and we're going to be even more successful. The other part of it that we don't think about a lot, that we need to, is our international presence. In 2 weeks, 800 million people will see me dance on the Bollywood stage. It was a horrible sight. But sometimes you got to take one for the team. 800 million people as we plant Tampa Bay's flag around the world. The biggest port in the state of Florida, the closest port to the Panama Canal as you look at the Panama Canal expansion. Thanks to the governor yesterday, we got 2 new gantry cranes that will help us with the containerization business. You got a major international airport that is undergoing $1 billion expansion. We're going to compete on the global stage. We share languages, we share cultures with Central and South America. If we're not the gateway to the Americas, shame on us. We can compete with Miami anytime. So it's exciting. I mean, this economy is really ready to bust loose, but it's going to be a different economy than what we've always known.
Great, thanks. Let's shift our focus a little bit to retail. How is retail blooming in the urban core? Market data says that it's still struggling. People are talking about it. Retailers are starting to look, but it's still, stats are saying that it's struggling. How's it happening in your city?
That makes it easy for me. Our retail core in downtown is non-existent.
So you have nowhere to go but up.
Yeah. But, having said that, I will tell you that our countryside mall area, our beach area is just thriving. And the problems that Mayor Buckhorn and Mayor Kreisman are saying about parking, that's the problem that we have in those 2 areas. Hopefully, with this redevelopment of the aquarium in a couple of years, with people coming to move downtown, and as we try to get some of these incubators, really small businesses that are in the tech field to expand and grow, we will start having those problems and attracting people to downtown. But right now, we need your help.
Yeah, our retail is in St. Pete's a little different than we have. Our main retail area is located out in West St. Pete at Tyrone Square Mall. That's really where the heart of our, so to speak, big box retailers are located. We tend to be a city of more of small businesses, small independent, or keep St. Pete local type businesses, as we like to say. And so in our downtown core area, it's mostly local shops, which I love, quite frankly, because I think it's what gives St. Pete its uniqueness and its charm. And it's one of the things that my administration has really focused on in a degree that we haven't seen previously. One of the positions I created was a small business liaison. And to me, I define small business as not a target. So it's anything smaller than that. And the whole purpose for that position is to be that contact and that conduit between the business community and my office and me directly. Because what I want to know and what we're asking businesses in our city is what can we do to help you not only survive but to thrive? What can I do, or what are we doing as a city that makes it hard for you to be successful? We want to know about that, because if it means we have to change a city ordinance, if it means we have to lobby the state legislature, that's what we want to do. We want our businesses, and our retail businesses in particular that are in our downtown area and our core, to be successful and to grow, and to at some point in time reach that point where maybe they are franchising off and becoming not a small business but a major retailer. So we've talked about how, in St. Pete, we don't want to just roll out the red carpet for big business and the red tape for small business. We want to treat small business and big business the same. We want them thriving in all areas of our city. And I think eventually as we continue to see that the residential component boom and enhance and grow in downtown, we'll start seeing some more of the big box potentially move into downtown. But right now, that's not our bread and butter. It is the small businesses.
I think retail in Tampa is doing better. Obviously, in the West Shore area, there, Ron, I said it. In the West Shore area, with International Plaza, you've got a burgeoning, very successful retail environment. You know, West Shore's got another 1,800 units that are coming online on the residential side. So all along West Shore Boulevard, you're starting to see more retail occur, serving the demographic mix of South Tampa, which has the buying power to be successful for these major retailers. Hyde Park Village has just been acquired, so I think you're going to see that new ownership try to repopulate Hyde Park Village with local products. Downtown, retail always follows residential, and as you develop more residential in the downtown core, you're going to start to see more retail occur. I mean, I knew that we had reached a tipping point when I cut the ribbon on a veterinarian clinic in downtown Tampa. Because that tells me that not only people are living downtown, but they have pets.
Right.
And so if there's a demand for a vet clinic in downtown Tampa, that tells you that that critical mass has been reached. Obviously, the next very, very important step for us would be a major grocery store in downtown Tampa.
Right.
I think once that occurs, then I think we will have reached the critical mass. And so retail is alive and well in Tampa. We can always do better, but I think we're well on the way to recover.
Yes, Mayor Caracas.
I want to just throw this out. How many of you will go to a mall and park at one end and walk to the far end because that was the only parking spot that you could find? And yet when you come to our downtowns, you expect to have a parking space right in front of the business that you want to visit. You won't even think about parking a block or in a parking garage. That's a complaint that we hear all the time. Sure. And yet you know better than we that it's not practical.
You know, Mercedes, one of the things that as mayors in our downtown that we struggle with, and Mayor Kreisman and St. Pete has done particularly well with Central Avenue and with Beach Drive in terms of making it very retail friendly, very pedestrian oriented. In downtown Tampa, and I'm going to get in trouble right now, because our downtown streets were designed by DOT engineers, whose entire mission is to get people through downtowns as fast as possible, so God forbid they stop. Has to change. I mean, if you look at Florida Avenue, if you look at Tampa Street, they are designed to move people in downtown and out of downtown as quickly as possible. That's got to change. Those one-way pairs have got to change. Narrowing of lanes has got to change. Putting angled parking or parallel parking, widening the sidewalks to encourage people to put retail in on the ground floors and encourage people to walk in our downtowns. That's ultimately where you want to go. And this is not a criticism of DOT because these decisions were made 40 years ago, 50 years ago. But in the new environment, with the demographic changes and the in-migration patterns of people wanting to be in downtown, downtowns have got to be more walkable, more livable, more public art, more pedestrian friendly, and more retail oriented. And the way you do that is to slow the traffic down and create an environment where people want to be. All of us suffer from that in all of our downtowns. And I know we're going to change that. So just kind of stay tuned.
All right. Mayor Buckhorn, you started to touch on this when we were talking about retail and looking for a grocery store anchor in downtown. Tell us a little bit, your increasing population, people living downtown, obviously they need places to do grocery shopping. If I were representing a two-story national grocery store, what would you tell me about your downtown and why should we come there?
Would you like my firstborn? What would I tell you? We would try to move heaven and earth to accommodate your needs. I would tell you that 2002, when I left office the first time, there were 600 people who lived in downtown Tampa, and 300 of them lived in the Morgan Street jail. If you look at downtown Tampa now, with Harbor Island and all the development that's occurred and all the development that we anticipate occurring, you're looking at heads in beds that would guarantee that a downtown grocery store would be successful. The critical mass has been reached. We need those types of amenities in walking distance from the residential towers that we have. Channelside has turned the page. Once we get Channelside out of that ridiculous lawsuit and get it back to a productive use, that will be the last corner of our downtown that needs to get fixed. So a major grocery store in downtown Tampa will succeed. And the one at Bayshore and Platte, where I shop, is too small and too crowded and not going to service a downtown population. We are ready for a downtown grocery store. I'm confident that we're going to get there in the not too distant future, but I think that will be a game changer for our downtown area.
Wonderful.
Finally, we've got something that Tampa doesn't have. We have a downtown grocery store. And actually, we have two of them, because on the other end of where this Prospect Lake is going in, we have the Nature's Food Patch, which has been celebrating 25 years in Clearwater as an organic and whole food type supermarket. So we got you beat on that one, Mayor Bob.
I've got duckweed.
We are fortunate in downtown St. Petersburg. We do have a downtown grocery store. We have a Epicurean market that's coming to our downtown area, and not within walking distance, but certainly within a very short drive. We have a fresh market. We have Trader Joe's that's coming. Could we use another downtown shopping center or grocery store given the growth that we're experiencing? Yeah, we could. But I also see the need as our downtown is expanding its borders out and it's heading west and it's heading south. We're going to need to have some opportunities in those areas, whether it's in the Grand Central area. We're fortunate we have Walmart neighborhood in Midtown, but in South St. Pete, there is a huge hole where we would love to see shopping centers and grocery stores locate. There is a customer base that is just waiting. So anybody who is a grocery developer, hear me. There is a customer base waiting for you.
You're in the right room. You might get mobbed on the way out.
Good, I'd like to. Thank you.
All right. The subject of, in the next 20 years, having, from the beaches, Tampa, Orlando, creating this megalopolis, was that word?
That's the word.
All right. Let's talk about commuter rail amongst the Florida cities. How do you view the importance of this?
I'd say it's extremely important. I'd say if we don't connect the state with mobility options, and rail being one, we will be far less competitive, and we will fall further and further behind our states that we compete with. I think there is, and obviously I took issue with the governor's decision, like a lot of us a number of years ago, but I do think there's an opportunity with All Aboard Florida, whose first leg will go as a passenger rail system, privately funded, whose first leg will go from Miami to Orlando, and whose second leg is being contemplated from Miami to Tampa. That's important. That is important. It would use existing DOT right-of-way, the same right-of-way that would have been used for the high-speed rail system that never came to fruition. So I think that option is available. Then the connection becomes from downtown Tampa to the West Shore area and to TIA. And if green light passes, the connection across the Howard Franklin Bridge to Pinellas County. So, I mean, I think giving people options and connecting particularly the Orlando area and the Tampa Bay area really is going to have significant benefits for the development of the I-4 corridor.
Yeah, and Bob couldn't have said it better. If it doesn't happen in Pinellas County, it's not happening in Hillsborough County. And it has to happen in Pinellas because it has to happen in Hillsborough. If we're really going to be a region, our counties have to be connected. They have to be. We cannot compete with these communities all across the country who either already have good mass transit or recognize the importance of it and are moving to it. And it isn't just, and this is really important, we don't all get hung up on light rail. This isn't just about light rail. All you have to do is look at the logo for Greenlight Pinellas, and you will see light rail, but you'll also see enhanced buses, whether it's more bus services, that's more frequent buses, or it's bus rapid transit. You see a pedestrian and you see a bicyclist. Because that's got to be a part of our transportation system. Whether you're riding a bus, whether you're on a rail, or you're on a bike, or you're just walking. We just talked a lot about the walkability of our communities. The ability to get from one place to the other is critical, and to do it easily is critical. It's not just quality of life, it's economic development, and those do go hand in hand. I mentioned that before. This, in my mind, if we don't pass this, it sets us back decades. It is that serious.
The economy of Florida is probably as large as most countries in the world. You can go overseas, get on a bus or a train, and get throughout the whole country. You come here to Florida and you land at the best airport in the country, and where do you go? You have to rent a car. And that's embarrassing for all of us. And we just need to do a better job of connecting Florida in addition to connecting our region.
Very well said. Our last question gives you an opportunity to spotlight your future here. Outside of transportation, what infrastructure improvements to your cities are you focused on to support and promote new commercial development?
I'll start. I mean, parking is clearly a huge issue in all, I think, in all of our communities, but in St. Petersburg, whether it's in the downtown area, the new area that's really exploding, which is called the Edge, or Grand Central, we are seeing demands on our parking, which is a good problem to have, but it's a problem that, nevertheless, that we haven't seen in generations. So we've really got to focus our efforts on investing in our parking resources, affordable housing, and I'm fortunate to have a director of neighborhood affairs, Mike Dove, who's with us today, and a councilman, Carl Nurse, both of whom are so committed to increasing our housing stock in St. Petersburg, doing it in an intelligent way and in an affordable way, so that our city doesn't become one that only a few can afford to live in. And that's a real concern that I have, is that I don't want to see us create an environment that the majority of those who work in the city can't live in the city. And we see that in a lot of other communities. And I'm also, quite frankly, and I may get in trouble for saying this, but I'm disappointed in my community for its failure to make some infrastructure investments on some critical issues. I've got a police department, police force that is working in a structure that is embarrassing, quite frankly. And working together with the county, we're going to fix that. And it's a new day in Pinellas County in the relationship, I think, between our cities and our county. I know that my city is working with our county in ways that we haven't done in years. But we have to make those investments in that infrastructure if we're going to be able to sustain our growth for the long term, and we're committed to doing that.
Mercedes, for us, what we will spend a lot of time over, certainly the remaining time that I have, is to create an environment where the Hillsborough River is the center of our urban experience, not the western edge. I mean, for years, decades, Tampa has turned its back on its waterfront. It was a working wharf. It was ignored. It was abandoned. And that's all changed. And that is for very fundamental reasons, and that is that waterfront is the best thing that we have in our urban environment. It is what makes us more competitive. It is where all of the development should start, with a focus on that waterfront. And part of that means making sure that that river is the center, that it's not a barrier, that it's not the western edge of our downtown, that we look at the University of Tampa as a major economic engine that's going to help drive the development on the west bank of the Hillsborough River. As we look at what Tampa General will do on the old Kennedy, the Furman Kennedy site by moving the rehabilitation hospital there and offices there. Looking at the redevelopment of the old armory, which will now become the Jewish Community Center, thanks partially to a $6 million allocation that just occurred from the legislature and our partners in the legislature and the governor, looking at the 150 acres. Just imagine this, 150 acres that we will partner with our friends at the Tampa Housing Authority, 150 acres that currently throws off a total of $150,000 a year in property tax. That's it. 150 acres that's either on the river or a block off the river on the west side of the river. 150 acres that, if we're successful getting a choice neighborhood grant, will allow us to tear down public housing and give those young people in some very dire conditions a better life. Enable us to take 20 acres that the city owns and reprogram it and master plan it to create a live, work, and play environment where the schools are neighborhood walking schools. 150 acres in the urban core on the waterfront is unprecedented development opportunities. And so 10 years from now, we're going to have a different skyline. 10 years from now, this city is going to be, my city is going to be a different place. It's going to be very, very exciting. But we've got to stay focused. Absolutely have got to stay focused. But for us, our better days are ahead of us. And I think all of these mayors would say the same thing.
Mayor Kritikos?
Well, I want to thank you, Mercedes and crew, for allowing me to share this platform again this year with these two mayors. You know, they say something and it gets done. I say something and I hope two other council members agree with me and somehow figure out that it was their idea. And so we go ahead and do it because we've got 3 votes. But we do have an ability here, and we have a commitment from the 3 of us, and I think our other mayors who are here, that this region can grow together and that we're willing to work with you if you work with us. And that means, in part, you know, Mayor Kreisman had mentioned about the red carpet and the red tape. We want to work with you, but there are certain rules that we have to all live by, and sometimes we can't bend them as easily as you would like us to. We're real proud in Clearwater on 2 things, and I'm going to take a little different spin here, because when you're talking about the millennials and this younger generation, they have a much bigger commitment and an understanding of how important the environment is than my generation and my parents' generation. You know, whether we're talking about clean water, whether we're talking about recycling water, whether we're talking about single stream, you know, garbage pickup, whether we're talking about propane or natural gas or electric vehicles or using a bicycle to go to work. So I think our responsibility is to try to address those issues. In Clearwater, we had the very first propane filling station in the entire Tampa Bay area, and it's going to be open to the public. We're going, as some of our smaller communities have already done so, gone to this single stream recycling. Again, so that when you come into Pinellas County, you know, those of us when we were growing up, we smelled Toy Town. Yeah. You don't smell Toy Town now. You have a bustling area in there. So I think that as we continue to grow and understand something else that Mayor Kreisman had said, and where we need your help. We're an old area. Our housing stock for a lot is really pretty pitiful. And we need to do a better job at incentivizing homeowners to upgrade their properties, to be proud of living in those neighborhoods that were the suburbs when I was a child growing up in Pinellas County.
All right, wonderful. I would like to thank each of the mayors for taking time today to come visit with us. There was an article, or a survey, I should say, in the Business Journal last week. I don't know how many of you saw it, but the survey, the question was, how many people think that the Tampa Bay area is a collaborative environment? And only 30% responded with a positive response. I would like to hear from this group, after hearing these 3 mayors together. This is a collaborative group. Let's give them a great hand. Thank you so much.